Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we be included amongst the followers of Amirul Mu'mineen in this dunya and akhirah, inshaAllah. The occurrence of the istishhad, or the darbat followed with the istishhad with the nights of Qadr, has a great significance. We know, according to our traditions, that the nights of Qadr appear on the 19th, the 21st, or the 23rd night, with the most emphasis being on the 23rd night. However, there is a gradual progression amongst these nights of that which we need to do, that which we need to accomplish, so that we can maximize on the opportunities that lie on the 23rd night of Shahru Ramadhan. It's been the same as we've been discussing since the months of Rajab and Sha'ban. How much we put into Rajab, how much we put into Sha'ban is what we will find in the month of Ramadan. Likewise, in the nights leading up to the 23rd night of Shahru Ramadan, the greatest night, the greatest night of the calendar year as far as we are concerned in Islam, it will depend on how much work we put in on the 19th and 21st nights. The 19th and 21st nights are the days of examinations. The 23rd night is the graduation night. Is the night in which we receive that rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore we try to make a change in our destiny on these 19th and 21st nights. We know that this is that night, this is that day where they say it is equivalent to 1,000 months, isn't it? Therefore, if we do any action, if we take any steps on these nights, it is equivalent to 1,000 times what a general step would be in any other day. And therefore, in particular, if we take a step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this night, it will be equivalent to 1,000 steps any other moment, any other time. So the progression and the closeness that's available for us during these times is phenomenal, quite phenomenal. And I think there is great significance that we commemorate the istishhad of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad on these nights, because crying really assists us in getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is nothing that can shed away rust from the heart, that can shed rust away from our nafs the way crying can do so, especially crying for a loved one. And of course for us, there is no greater loved one than the Prophet and Ali ibn Abi Talib. These are the dearest to our hearts, and therefore it's very important, cry on these nights, cry. Think about that which happened to our Mawla. Think about that which the family must have been undergoing, seeing their father in that condition. And the tears then should naturally flow from our eyes. How can they not? Because the way they would cry, the way the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam would cry for their father, Amirul Mu'mineen was our father. There's a tradition we get from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm going to make a comment about salawat, the next salawat, inshallah. Maybe we can pick it up a little bit. I think it also has to do with this. I can't hear it. I'm not kidding. So it feels like there's nobody reciting a salawat. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He says, Ana wa Aliyun abawa hadhihi al-ummah. He says, Ali and I are the fathers of this ummah. وَلِحَقُّنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَعْظَمْ مِنْ حَقِّ أَبَوَيْ وِلَادَتِهِمْ. Subhanallah. And he says that the haqq that we have upon this ummah is greater than the haqq that their parents have on them. That means Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, are our fathers. And they have more rights over us than do our biological fathers. Therefore, we will be accountable of how we treated them. We will be accountable of how we respected them and how much we followed the sunnah that came after them. In that line, when we look at the contributions that our first Imam alayhi salam has made for us, he has left us with a great amount or a great wealth of knowledge and guidance. We, as far as this knowledge and guidance that we receive from our Imam, is probably more than what we would receive or what we have received from any other Imam. The other Imams have all made a different type of contribution. Our fourth Imam has contributed guidance through the Sahifa, for example. Our fifth and sixth Imams have contributed guidance through us through the teachings of Hadith. Our first Imam alayhi salam, what we have the wealth from him is, for example, in Ghurarul Hikam. This is a book that's often been forgotten by us. Ghurur al-Hikam is a collection of sayings. It's now been translated into English, actually. It's worth getting. There's also an app for it. So if you go into your app store and just type in Ghurur al-Hikam, you can actually get an app for it. It's sayings that are not found in Nahjul Balagha, that are not found in any other places really, but there's short sayings of Imam, very powerful. And then of course we have that of Nahjul Balagha as well, a collection of the sayings and the sermons. I want to focus on a letter, and I've talked about this letter since I think 2 years now. We've been talking about this letter, and this is letter number 31 of Nahjul Balagha. I haven't in my life experienced a more moving, a more touching, a more guided message than letter number 31 of Nahjul Balagha. As I've said, I think it has changed my life more than anything else that I've learned the past 4 years of my life. And I want to discuss this with you because it's a very remarkable letter that our Imam alayhi salam has written. Now this letter number 31 of Nahjul Balagha, is a letter that Imam alayhi salam wrote on the back, or coming back from the Battle of Siffin. Right away, as soon as the Battle of Siffin had ended, of course we know the Battle of Siffin took a heavy toll on the Muslims. The Imam alayhi salam even had to fight a large army of Muslims, and there was a lot of deaths that happened in that. The effect of what would have happened from that battle we can understand from an emotional perspective. One who considers himself to be the father of the ummah would suffer tremendously at the loss of Muslims, even though they may have been munafiq. This is important to understand. There may be Muslims who are munafiq, there may be Muslims who are fasiq, but as believers, we never want to condemn anyone to Jahannam. We don't. We would rather have them saved and end up in Jannah with us, inshaAllah. Right? And the Imam alayhi salam naturally had that same disposition with him, that he wanted to guide. Killing or fighting was the last option of the Imam alayhi salam. So the Battle of Siffin took a major toll on the Imam alayhi salam's emotions, we can imagine. And from this letter we can see that. On the way back from Siffin, the Imam alayhi salam camps at a destination, and then there's where he pens this letter for his son, our second Imam alayhi salam. And it's basically a letter from a father to a son. Now last year, if you remember, in the month of Ramadhan, we discussed a portion of this letter. In the month of Ramadhan, we discussed a portion of this letter where he gives 27 short pieces of advice to his son. I don't know if you remember that, inshaAllah. I want to cover the rest of this letter this time. And this rest of this letter is quite amazing as far as what our responsibilities the Imam alayhi salam sees us doing. So he begins this letter by saying, from the father who is shortly to die, min al-walid al-fan al-muqirrin liz-zaman, who acknowledges the hardships of times. That times are not easy. And times are difficult. He says, I acknowledge from a person, from a father who acknowledges these hardships. Al-mudbir al-umar, who has turned away from life. There's nothing in life that I find appealing for me to be attracted to. Therefore, I've turned away from that. Wal-mustaslim ad-dahr, and I have submitted to the calamities of time. That the difficulties of time, that which they bring to me, I have submitted to them. I'm not going to fight them anymore. I have accepted that this is what life is and this is how life is going to be. And then he continues that he who realizes the evils of the world, who is living in the abodes of the dead and is due to depart from them any day. This is a very remarkable beginning. A very touching beginning. He doesn't say from Ali to Hassan. He doesn't say that. Nor does he say really from a father to a son, but he begins to describe the qualities or the attributes of his fatherhood. Where it is a father who is about to die. Look at that beginning by the Imam. This is a very powerful beginning. And what we see is that the Imam alayhi salam here is writing this letter from the position of experience. Yeah? That from a person, from a father who has experienced that which you have yet to experience. I have recognized the truths of time, I have recognized the truths of this world, and therefore I am writing to you from the perspective of experience. But here I don't want us to think that this experience has to do with age. Yeah? This experience does not have to do with age. It's not exclusive to age. Yes, age may have a component to it. Sometimes when we get older, we feel that the younger generation must listen to what we have to say. They must take the advice that we have to give. However, the age aspect of experience doesn't mean you have gained real experience of life. Yeah? Because if you take a look at it, we know, and I'm sure we can attest to the fact that there are many people who have lived a life a certain way of delusion, yeah, of fake ideology and false ideologies, of false beliefs, and they continue with those false ideologies and false beliefs till they get older. And therefore they can't be expected that that person would give advice on life to somebody who is younger to them, when in fact the advice that they are giving is not accurate. Yeah? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to downplay the older people here, yeah? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that advice or experience only comes into play is when you have experienced something, but you have experienced the haqq of that thing. When you have experienced the reality of that thing, that is when you can give real advice. And the reason why I say is that age is not a component to this, because we know for a fact, yeah, that Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, Ali Muhammad, in his 20s and in his 30s was given the responsibility by the Prophet to look after the ummah. Yeah? That means he knew that he had enough experience to understand the realities of the world to be able to guide the ummah, right? And this is where we have to then come to a really nice balance, right? Where it doesn't matter the age of the person who is speaking. You have to understand whether they are speaking the truth or not. Yeah? Whether they have experienced life or not. I in my life have met people who are far younger than me, who have experienced far more than I will ever experience or have experienced so far, and you have to respect what they have to say. Yeah? You have to respect what they have to say. Sometimes our younger generations, when you talk to our teenagers, we went to camp with the teenagers. These teenagers in their 16s through 18s, some of them have experienced more than I've experienced. Yeah, they've undergone things more than I've undergone, and therefore they can see certain things that I could never see. And you have to accept that. And sometimes we as a community or as a people need to sit together, yeah, and say that, look, I may have the experience of age, you may have the experience of something else. Let's come together and put our experiences to proper use for the good of our ummah, for the good of our nation. And this is what the Imam Ali salam is speaking from on this end. He said, look, I am coming to you from a father who's about to die, but he's also accepted the realities of this world. That this world is nothing but hardships. I have acknowledged that and I have accepted that. Yeah? Now one who comes with that understanding of life will be able to handle the ups and downs of life much better than one who does not accept those realities of life. You understand? Yeah? So here we find that the Imam alayhi salam comes from this angle, and this is the first paragraph describing who the letter is from. The second paragraph is who it's addressed to. Yeah? To the son who yearns for what is not to be achieved. Allahu Akbar. Yeah? Yani from a father who's experienced to a son who is not experienced. Yeah? For a son who still yearns for that which is not to be achieved. How many a times, yeah, we find people, we know people, no matter how old they are, yeah, no matter how young they are, have this vision of something that they are trying to chase, but it's never to be achieved. Yeah? Because dunya is like that. Dunya is a constant tease. Yeah? There's not been a greater tease than dunya. Yeah? Who will show us something and then hide something. And then it will tempt us for the rest of our lives to chase that particular thing. But it is not to be achieved. Yeah? The Imam alayhi salam says to a son who yearns for that which is not to be achieved, who is treading the path of those who have died, who is the victim of ailments, who is entangled in the worries of days, who is a target of hardship, a slave of the world, a trader of its deception, a debtor of wishes, a prisoner of mortality, an ally of worries, a neighbor of grief, a victim of distresses, who has been overpowered by desires, and who is a successor of the dead. Subhanallah. Look at how he is addressing this letter. What's amazing here, right? He could have just said from Ali to Hassan, and that would have been it. Yeah, we would have still venerated that letter as much as we venerate this letter today. But we see the position from which the Imam alayhi salam is writing this letter. Yeah, it's a position of care, it's a position of emotion, and it's a position of fatherhood. And therefore, when we look at this, and he says, for a son who yearns for that which is not to be achieved, what we can understand from this is that clearly it's not our second Imam who is the intended target of this letter. Yeah? Or for one, for example, who is constantly chasing that which the dead have chased. So we find that the Imam alayhi salam is writing this letter for us, which is why he did not say from Ali to Hassan. Because if he had said to Ali to Hassan, there could have been some who would have said, well, that's not for us then, is it? Yeah? That's specific for that particular personalities. But when he extends the dimensions, you can say, of the letter to describe characteristics of the people that he is talking to, we understand then that this letter is addressed to us. Yeah? We are the people that our Father is speaking to. We are the ones who are chasing that which sometimes you wonder, will it ever be achieved? Right? Like for example, I'm chasing respect. Yeah? I'm chasing position. I'm chasing a loftier position in work. I'm chasing more izzah. Yeah? These are things which will never be achieved. Yeah? There's never going to be a time, for example, me as a person who am going to be respected by all. It's never going to be like that. I may be respected, I may work so hard to earn the respect of these 10 people here, but then these 10 people here may not respect me. So now I have to work here. And what I'm doing is I'm constantly chasing. You understand? Yeah? And here the Imam says, look, it's never going to be achieved. Why are you chasing and yearning for that which is never going to happen? So what we see here is that also very beautifully, the Imam alayhi salam describes himself with 7 characteristics. Yeah? While he describes his son or the addressee of this letter with 14 characteristics. Yeah, double. Yeah? And it's very interesting why that could be. You know, our mufassirin, those who have done sharh or explanation of this particular letter, they say, look, the Imam alayhi salam here is telling his son that if you do not accept the advice that I am giving you, you are going to end up facing double the problems in this world than you would if you accepted my advice. Yeah? And what's interesting here is another point that comes out of that as well, right? That even if we accept the advice of our Imam, we're still going to face problems in this world. That's what the Imam is telling us. Yeah? It's very remarkable. It's very amazing. It's not saying to his son, look, you accept my advice, good life for you. Yeah? You're going to have no problems in life. No, the reality is, sometimes, double the problem comes in where? First, I am in denial of the problem, then I face the problem. Yeah? If I am not in denial of the problem, then that problem is solved. Now I just have to face the problem. Because the world is going to be full of problems, right? So the Imam alayhi salam is giving this letter for his son to accept this fact that there is going to be mushkil in this world, there are going to be problems in this world. Accept it. And if you can accept it, you will find less problems than you would if you did not accept it. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now that's just the introduction of the letter. Now we get to the meat of the letter. And this letter is long. Yeah, as we said, this is the second longest letter found in Nahjul Balagha. The first longest letter is addressed to who? Malik. Yeah, Malik Ashtar. That's the longest letter. This is the second longest letter found in Nahjul Balagha. Now we get to the chunk or the meat of the letter, or we begin to cut to the meat of the letter. The Imam alayhi salam then says, Amma ba'd. Yeah, amma ba'd means now after that. Now after that has been said, let me tell you something. We say that in our lectures as well, isn't it? We recite the khutbah, then we say amma ba'd. Amma ba'd means now after that has been completed, we are moving to something else. It says amma ba'd. Yeah. فَإِنَّ فِيمَا تَبَيَّنْتُ مِنْ إِدْبَارِ الدُّنْيَا عَنِّي. What I have learned from the turning away of this world from me. I want you to pay attention to this. Yeah. This is amazing what the Imam is saying. Amazing. He says, from what I have learned from the turning away of this world from me and the onslaught of time over me. Yani, I have tried to push back time like a wave and it keeps coming. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. Time just comes and it goes. And the advancing of the next world towards me is enough to prevent me from remembering anyone except myself and from thinking beyond myself. Ya Allahu Akbar. Yeah, I know we're fasting. Yeah, and I know we're tired. Yeah, look at what the Imam is saying. Yeah, this is the one who is the father of the ummah. Right? He cares. His care for the ummah is such, right, that he would weep when the orphans would weep. Yeah? He would go out and make sure that the widows and the orphans were taken care of. That's how much care he had for the ummah. He says in this letter to his son that what I have learned from the onslaught of time over me, yeah, and how hard it's been with life and the next world is quickly approaching, that's the only way to survive is if I just think about nobody else and think about myself only. Yeah? I'm going to be selfish, the Imam is saying. Yeah? Where I don't care about you, I don't care about you, I don't care about anybody else. What the dunya has taught me is that I must only worry about myself. Yeah? This is amazing advice. Amazing advice. Because at the end of the day, why? What's going to happen at the end of the day? I'm going to go into my grave myself. Yeah? You're not coming with me. Yeah? I'm not coming with you. You have to do that which is best for you. And I have to do that which is best for me. I can't worry about what you're going to think, what you're going to say, how you're going to react, how am I going to make everything okay. No, I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm about to die. Yeah? I'm about to die. The next world is approaching me very, very fast. Yeah? All I can do is think about myself. Yeah? And this is what the Imam alayhi salam is teaching us. Now, if you stop here, you will get the wrong message. Yeah? If this is all you listen to and go home and say, I'm going to be selfish, yeah? You have missed the point. Yeah? The point here is that the Imam alayhi salam is saying that when I have understood, from what I have understood, it has made me realize that the primary focus should be myself. Yeah? Once he says, when I then confined myself to my own worries. Yeah? If we can just move a little bit forward. Yeah? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's okay to slide a little bit. Yeah? You slide a little bit, God will slide a lot for you, inshallah. Yeah? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Imam alayhi salam says here, now this, I think this was one of the most eye-opening things for me. Yeah? And it's important to remind ourselves of these points. He says, but when I confined myself to my own worries, leaving the worries of others, yeah? Yani I don't worry about anything else. I don't worry about anyone else. He says, once I began to do that, my intelligence saved me and protected me from my desires. Allahu Akbar. Yeah. My intelligence at that time rebooted. Yeah. My intelligence at that time saved me from my desires. It clarified to me my affairs and led me to seriousness wherein there was no trickery and truth which was not tarnished by falsehood. You see the benefit of that introvert looking? That selfish looking, yeah. When I begin to look for myself, yeah, what begins to happen is my intelligence then begins to guide me. Right now in my world, yeah, I go out with my friends, I don't want to do something because I know it's not good to do it. I go out with my friends, I don't want to backbite because I know it's not good to backbite. I go out with my friends, I don't want to go listen to music. I go out with my friends, I don't want to sit in the car with music. None of these things I want to do, but I will compromise all of these things. Why? Because I want to be with my friends. You understand? Yeah? I will do things that my intelligence knows is wrong. My nafs knows it's wrong. But I'm doing this why? Because I'm looking to please others rather than I'm looking to please myself. Yeah? Once I begin to please myself, once I begin to look inwards and say, is this particular action good for Jaffer? Yeah? You don't ask that. You ask that if it's good for you. Yeah? You ask yourself, is this good for me? Yeah? And then you will begin to see your intelligence guide you. Yeah? Your intelligence at that time will tell you, hey, don't go out in this. It doesn't matter if they don't like you anymore after that. Yeah? It's okay. Yeah? Somebody is saying something wrong, hey, you got to step up here. You got to tell them that this is not right. Yeah? Somebody is backbiting, you have to have the courage to say something. Right? Because we claim to want to be like Ali, but none of us are like Ali. Yeah? We are willing to put our heads underneath the sand and let the dunya just come and overtake us. We have to be courageous like Ali. We have to say the right things like Ali. And the reason why Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdalus salatu was salam ma salli ala Muhammad wa ali could do that which he wanted to do, yeah? Because he looked to that which was best for himself. Yeah? This is why they say that if you see Ali walking down one valley and you see the entire world walking down the other valley, you go to the valley with Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yeah? Because Aliyun ma'al haqq wal haqqu ma'a Ali. Yeah? Because Ali is with haqq. Ali will always be with haqq. You know why Ali is always with haqq? Because Ali alayhi salam does that which is best for his soul. Yeah? That which is best for his soul. Yeah? The soul which is looking forward to the hereafter, not the soul which is looking forward to dunya. Right? And once we begin to work in this manner, once we begin to act in this manner, where I begin to look to see that which is best for my soul, it will clarify, the Imam says, it clarified for me my affairs and led me to seriousness. It made me realize what I have to do, what I have to avoid. We are oftentimes in this world that we live in, we don't know what's the right course of action versus what's the wrong course of action. Everything seems gray. Our schools tell us we must be inclusive. The workplace tells us we must be inclusive. The media tells us we must be inclusive. We must be inclusive and accept different types of people the way they are, different lifestyles that they choose. Islam tells us something else. Islam says we must learn to draw the line between acceptable versus not acceptable. How do I know how to act? Yeah? This is what our children are asking today. Our children are facing calamities that you and I never faced. They have to wear pink ribbons at school for couples who come from different family backgrounds. Yeah? Why? Because they have to be inclusive. But are we teaching them what is expected of Islam? Yeah? That by wearing that pink label doesn't mean that I am accepting that particular action. We never accept that particular action. Yeah? This is what we have to learn to do, and we will never learn to do these things. Never learn to do these things if we don't realize what our soul expects or what Allah expects from our soul. And once we begin to do that, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ فُرْقَانًا. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. When he becomes God conscious, when my heart becomes God conscious, God will show me the difference between haqq and batil. God will show me where to walk and where not to walk. Yeah? And this is what we expect to get the guidance, like this type of guidance from Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then the Imam alayhi salam says, yeah, that after my affairs began to get clarified, yeah, after I was able to distinguish between right and wrong, here, the Imam says, I found you a part of myself. Allah. Yeah? We thought the Imam was turning to become a selfish man, yeah? A self-absorbed man. The Imam says that once I turned inward, Yeah? Once I began to realize what my soul requires, this is where in that self-searching, I found you to be a part of me. Yeah? And I realized that I have to work towards you. You see what it does? You see what it does? Once I begin to look inside, it prioritizes for me what I'm expected to do in life. Yeah? Doesn't mean I look inside and then become selfish. No. When I begin to prioritize my life based on what my soul requires, God will teach me what I have to do to take care of the entire ummah. Yeah? God will then make me a person who is outgoing, extrovert. But it starts with myself. The Imam says to his son here, yeah? Here, I found you a part of myself. Rather, I found you my whole. Allahu Akbar. Yeah? You know how as parents, yeah, our children, yeah, are everything to us, isn't it? Are our whole, they're not our part. Look at the affection of Amirul Mu'mineen, yeah? Look at the affection of... This is, subhanallah, this is... no braver warrior has ever come in this world. Yeah, has ever come in this world. People would see Ali, they would run from the battlefield. Yet who can talk like this? Yeah? You don't expect the bravest of people, the most shuja of people to have an emotional side to them like Ali ibn Abi Talib does. And this is why Ali is... it's difficult to be like Ali. Yeah? It's difficult to be like Ali. Because Ali alayhi salam has taken two polar opposite things and brought them together into one perfect human being. Yeah? This is who Ali is. Where on one side, yes, you better not step up to Ali. Yeah? Because Ali will put you down. Yeah? And on the other hand, if there's something wrong for you, Ali will shed tears for you. Yeah? Ali will come to your house and make bread for you. Yeah? Ali will come to your house and feed you himself. Yeah? This is Ali. Yeah. He says to his son, this is where I found you to be my whole. And so much so that if anything befell you, it was as though it befell me. And if death came to you, it was as though it came to me. Consequently, your affairs meant to me what my own affairs matters to me. Allahu Akbar. Yeah? This, my brothers and sisters, is what is expected of us. Yeah? That once we begin to look inside of ourselves and once we begin to accept the realities of this world, then the primary responsibility that I get, the primary responsibility that I get is to make sure that the future generations are taken care of. That's what all of us need to worry about. This is what the Imam is saying. The Imam is saying, once I can look inwards, then I look outwards and see what my future generations need, what my children need, what are the questions my children are asking, what are the younger generations asking, and am I willing to accommodate that or not? Yeah? Am I willing to bring the changes of that or not? And this is where when we come back to the beginning, that aspect of experience sometimes makes us very stubborn. Yeah, very stubborn. That we feel that we have experienced more in life, therefore we know more in life, and therefore what we know is the best. Yeah? But if we continue to behave in that manner, what we find are repeated cycles of the same. Yeah? Because we're not willing to let the future generations make the changes that are needed, for the best. And when we don't do that, those future generations then become like us, older. And they're doing the same thing that they were doing before. And now we start the same cycle again. And the same cycle again. We have to look forward. We have to take this advice from our Imam alayhi salam. And naturally, why not? Yeah? Who is better to give us advice than Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam? Yeah? He is the one, my brothers and sisters, who is what? Babul ilm, isn't he? Yeah? When the Prophet says, Ana madinatul ilm wa aliyun babuha. Yeah? That I am the city of knowledge, and Ali is the gates of that city. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It was on a night like this, my brothers and sisters. On the 19th night of Shahru Ramadhan, or the month like this. It is said that at the time of the Prophet, when the Prophet was giving the sermon of Shahru Ramadan and to welcome the month of Ramadan, he was describing the greatness of this month and how in this month every breath is a tasbih and how our sleep is ibadat. At this time, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam rises and he says, Ya Rasulullah, ma afdalul a'mal fi hadha ash-shahr. What is the best action that we can do in this month, Ya Rasulullah? The Prophet looks at him and says, Ya Ali, the best action one can do in this month is to stay away from all that which is haram, to avoid that which is haram. Once the Prophet says that, tears began to flow down the cheeks of the Prophet. The Imam alayhi salam looks at him and says, Ya Rasulullah, ma yabkeek. He says, oh the Prophet of God, what makes you cry on this night? The Prophet replies back, Ya ibn al-Hasan, Ya ibn al-Hasan. It is in this month when the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low will strike you on the head with a sword. The Imam alayhi salam replies back and says, Ya Rasulullah, wa ana fi salamati fi dinik. Will I be in that salamat of your religion, Ya Rasulullah? Will I be on the path of religion, on the path of haqq? To which the Prophet replies back, Wallah fi salamati dinik. He says, indeed, you will be on the right religion, Ali, but no, Ali. Man qatalaka faqad qatalani. وَمَنْ ظَلَمَكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَنِي. He says, oh Ali, know that one who oppresses you, it is like they have oppressed me. And one who strikes you is like they have struck me. Many years later, on the 19th of Shahrul Ramadhan, it is said the Imam alayhi salam had a habit that one night he would go to the iftar to the house of Imam al-Hasan. On another night he would go to the house of Imam al-Hussein. On some nights he would go to the house of Zainab. On the night of 19th, it is said the Imam went to the house of Kulthum. Kulthum says that when it became the time of Maghrib, my father prayed and recited his nawafil. Then he came towards the table. On the table I placed a glass of laban, a glass of yogurt or milk. I placed some dates and some breads and some salt. The Imam calls me back and says, Ya Kulthum, when in your life have you ever seen your father partake more than 2 dishes? He says, do you want me to be accountable to Allah on the day of judgment? Please remove some of these. Kulthum says, I removed these plates and just left 2 on the table. And then I saw that my father busied himself with ibadat. He would stand, he would go into ruku, he would go into sujood. The entire night my father would recite his salah. Then every little while he would stick his head outside the door, look up towards the sky and says, Hiya wallah, Hiya wallah, laylati allati wa'adaniha habibi Rasulillah. He says, Wallah, this is the night that my Habib, my beloved Rasulullah has promised. This is the night in which I will be going towards them. It is said that my father, Kulthum reports, that my father eventually fell asleep. After a little while he awakes from his sleep. He calls his children towards him and he says that in my dream I saw Rasulullah, and the Prophet said, Ya ibn al-Hasan, innaka qadimun ilayna an qareeb, wa inna mushtaquna ilayk. He says the Prophet saw me and he came to my dream and he said, Ya ibn al-Hasan, soon you will be departing this world to come towards us. But oh Abul Hasan, how we have been longing to see you, how we have been waiting to see you, oh the father of Hasan. The children the children began to cry. The Imam says, do not cry, for I am still with you. Do not shed these tears yet until I am gone. Kulthum says, then it came close to the time of Salatul Fajr. I brought my father a jug of water. He did his wudu. He began to leave. According to certain khutbah, they say, she said to her father, do not go on this night. But the Imam insisted that I must go for the Salah. Historians tell us, khutbah tell us, that as the Imam alayhi salam left the house of Kulthum, everything on his path began to do Salah. salam, the ducks would line up, the trees would do their salam, the branches would bend, for they knew that this was the last time Amir al-Mu'mineen would be taking this journey towards Masjid Kufa. Once he reached Masjid Kufa, he recited his nawafil, and then he gave the adhan, and then he began to awaken those who were asleep in the mosque. He came to Ibn Muljim, la'natullahi alayh, who was sleeping on his stomach, hiding the sword. The Imam alayhi salam says, قُمْ مِنْ هَذَا النَّوْمِ هَذَا فَإِنَّهَا نَوْمَةُ يَمْقَتُهَا اللَّهُ فَإِنَّهَا نَوْمَةُ شَيْطَانٍ. The Imam says to Ibn Muljim, do not sleep on your stomach. This is a sleep that is hated by God. Rather, sleep on your right hand side, for this is the sleep of the Anbiya. Or sleep on your left hand side, for this is the sleep of the awliya, but do not sleep on your stomach. Then the Imam alayhi salam walked towards the mihrab. As he went, he recited the takbir of his salah. The Imam completed his qiyam. The Imam completed his ruku. The Imam went into sajda. As he completed the first sajda, and as he was raising his head, the Mal'un Ibn Muljim came and struck the Imam with his sword. رحم الله من نادى وإماما ومظلوما. Immediately the Imam alayhi salam's head split open, blood began to gush out. The Imam said, Bismillah wa billah wa bimillati Rasulillah fuztu wa rabbil Kaaba. I have succeeded by the house of the Lord of the Kaaba. Mu'mineen, it is said immediately the clouds began to gather. Angels' voices could be heard crying. Angel Jibreel from the sky screamed out, Tahaddamat wallahi arkanul huda, Qutila wasiyul mujtaba, Qutila aliyun il-murtada, Qutila wallahi sayyidul awsiya, Qatalahu ashqal ashqiya. Imam Hassan and Hussein rushed towards their father. Imam al-Hassan places the head of his father on his lap. Tears began to stream down their cheeks. The Imam says, do not cry, my children, for soon, O Hassan, you will be poisoned, and soon you, O Hussein, will be struck in the plains of Karbala without being provided water. It is said that the children carried the bodies, Imam's body, towards the house. As they approached the house, the khutbah mentioned Imam alayhi salam from the corner of his eyes saw towards his house, and he told his children, put me down, for I will walk the rest of the way. The children said, Ya Abata, you are in no condition to walk. How will you walk? Why do you want to walk? He says, I see my daughter Zainab standing. I see my daughter Zainab standing by the door, and I do not want to see her father. Matam Hussein.